Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray you well. Okay, let's start Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana. وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. Okay, so we were looking at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam the supreme certainty of the truth of the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate king, the creator of everything, and he's in control of everything. And this was done in order to make Quraysh think, no, he wasn't as you claim him to be, that on your side. Rather, he was the messenger of God and a muwahhid, someone who believes in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he alone deserves worship and there's no partner in his divinity. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, gives us now the scenario of when Ibrahim alayhi salam feigned, not even feigned, because the wording is very clever. The wording he used can be understood as a statement and as a question, but he wasn't asking a question. What he was doing, he was quoting the beliefs of these people, and it's like someone who's having a debate, and he'll say to someone, okay, pineapples belong on pizza, right? And then after that he says, oh, and then he proceeds to debunk this. Say, no, pineapples don't belong on pizza for X, Y, and Z. So it's like that, saying, putting their case forward and then refuting it. This is what he was doing. Some other ulama have said that the coming verses they were when he was a child and he was seeing this and thinking, oh no, this is my Lord, no, it's not, and he was deducing, no, that's not the case, right? But then the proof is at the previous verse, right? Allah showed him all of this, and it is deliberately placed there before this, so we know that he wasn't thinking that. Rather, he had certainty anyway. Imagine having a complete certainty of everything, like some of the most mystifying nebulous concepts out there now are like quantum mechanics, where you'll have one particle in one area of the universe and then another one thousands of light years away, and yet they're both connected, quantum entanglement. And that's how they say, like, if you were to ever open up wormholes that allow us to jump from one spot of the universe to the other, this would be the anyway, right? My sci-fi appreciation coming out. But the point here is Allah created all of this and showed him the reality of it. This is how it works. This is how it is. So he wasn't just trying to deduce it, right? So he says, so obviously this thing, Abu Sa'ud says he must have been in a place where he was looking at the western sky, and because he talks about a star or a heavenly body, and then the moon rising, and then the sun rising. So obviously the earth's turning, so it looks like the moon that was hidden, that it looks like it's rising because the earth's were turning in the direction of where the moon is in the sky, and then the sun as well. So although this must have happened over a couple of days at least, right? So he's فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلُ رَأَى كَوْكَبًا قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ قَالَ لَا أُحِبُّ الْآفِلِينَ. So when the night grew dark upon him, he saw a star and said, this is my Lord. But when it set, he said, I do not love things that set. And it's quite beautiful the way this has been put. So he says, فَلَمَّا جَنَّ. So Jim, Noon, and Kaf, Noon, these two words, which have these letters, generally entail something being covered or something being hidden. A Jannah is a garden. The ground is hidden because of all the foliage from the canopy of the trees above. And that's a Jannah. And the jinn are hidden from us, right? So فَلَمَّا جَنَّ عَلَيْهِ اللَّيْلِ, the night covers him over. And it covers over him. رَأَى كَوْكَبًا, he saw like a particularly bright star. So in modern Arabic, they'll say kawkab for planet, and najm for star, right? But here in the Quranic usage, it just means a heavenly body. Now it's interesting because it could have been a planet, because if, as Abu Saud says, that if the initial thing happened when the sun set, he'd be looking at the western horizon, and you can sometimes see Mercury, but the planet Venus appears at sunrise and sunset a lot of the times, and it's quite bright at sunset as well, and at sunrise. So you can see Venus clearly if you know where to look and what you're looking for. You can see Venus. So maybe he was looking at it, and as I said last time, Imam al-Biqai says that they used to worship the stars, and they used to say the idols are representatives of the stars, and then they intercede for us to the stars. So he says, Ra'a kawkaban, he saw a star. Qala hadha Rabbi, this is my master, my Lord. Rabb also had this indication of the one who gives you blessings and takes it from one stage to a higher stage, as we've discussed in the past. Hadha Rabbi, this is my Lord. Right? Falamma afala, and when the star set, right? So if it was, this is why I think it was Venus, because it disappears, right? Falamma afala, and when it set, when it disappeared, what happens? قال لا أحب الآفلين. He said, I don't love things that disappear, right? So this uful for afilin has an indication of something moving and changing and being covered and veiled, right? Something that veils another thing is in essence overpowering it, right? So this is the Quran indicating, but if you use your reason and think, everything that exists has a maker, right? And this is what people have believed for the majority of humanity. Ignore the atheists and these people who just think it all came out of nothing, right? It has to have a maker, right? So why does change tell us that the star is not deserving of worship? There's multiple discussion proofs and types of proofs. I'll just quickly cover something, but you can argue from possibility that the thing is possible, therefore not necessary, it cannot be God, or you can say from huduth, that it does change. So for example, the star, if it's there and then it disappears, it changes. Its state says it changes. So it can change from one thing to another thing to another thing. So any form of change can occur to it. It also shows that it's possible. The nature of the star is that it's possible. It doesn't have to be a particular way, because it can be one way or another way or another way. That shows possibility. It's intrinsically possible. So the creator of the heavens and the earth cannot be possible, just a possible being. Not possible as it's impossible for God to exist. No, I'm not saying that. It cannot be. He cannot be someone who that change can occur to, right? He has to be necessary. His existence is necessary and not just merely possible, because merely possible can go either way, right? He must exist. So he doesn't change, because change, being bright and then dark, existing, non-existing, it shows that it's possible for you to not exist and then exist. Yeah? So if the creator of the heavens and the earth if it was possible for him to not exist at one point, then something had to have brought him into existence. Then why are we calling this one God, as opposed to the being that brought him into existence? And if that being can either exist or not exist, who brought him into existence? And you can go on forever. But the fact that we exist shows at one point there was a being who's always existed. Yeah, it's rational. He's always existed. That's why we exist now. And he made us all. So that's some possibility and contingency, you can say. So if something, and he is necessary and he doesn't change. Why? Firstly, everything that exists he created. Right? So there's nothing there that could affect him to change him. He doesn't need anything. We need all sorts of things. You stop someone from breathing, and the lack of oxygen kills them off pretty quickly. Allah has no need for food or drink or anything. We need gravity, none of these things. So so all of this can be understood and more. Right? You studied in detail in Aqidah, but the fact that the star changes and it goes from a brighter state to a darker state, or visible to invisible, shows it's merely possible. Like things can affect it and change it, and this is a sign of being created, not of being necessarily existent. It's not a quality of the divine. Right? If you could say that the divine being could just stop existing and then come back into existence, or someone could make him not exist and then bring him back into existence, that existence is not what the ultimate existence of God is, right? So the star moving and changing like this is an indication of this, right? So he says, I don't love the things that change and disappear. Right? So, and it's clear, even you don't even have to go into this level of detail. You see, he's looking at the star, and according to how they believe, saying, "Oh, this is my Lord. Look how nice it is. Look how bright it is," and then it loses its brightness. So it's like it's lost the quality, or it loses visibility, or even it's lost the quality that these people thought it was divine because of. So is it divine? No. So then he says, عليه الصلاة والسلام, فلما رأى القمر بازغا قال هذا ربي. And when he saw the moon rising from the eastern horizon, he said, this one is my Lord. فلما أفل قال لئن لم يهدني ربي لأكونن من القوم الضالين. But when it disappeared, he said, if my Lord doesn't guide me, I will certainly be one of the misguided people, meaning his own people. But he's saying it to them gently. He's letting them down gently, and he's also explaining the reality of the matter to them gently. He is doing the deduction, letting the results and the conclusions sit in their minds, and he did affect them, as we'll see in other verses, inshallah. He did affect them, but they chose not to later in the Quran. Anyway, so he says, فَلَمَّا رَأَى الْقَمَرَ, I mean, he saw the moon. Now the moon, so the sun set in the western horizon, and the eastern horizon, there's no moon. But because so the sun was there and we're moving away from it, the earth is turning that way. It looks like the sun's going down. So then his point where he was on earth moved, and moving towards where the moon is in the sky outside earth, moving like that. So it looks like the moon is rising on the eastern horizon. So when he sees the moon, he said, هَذَا رَبِّي. This is bigger, this is brighter, look at it, this is my Lord. That's how he put it. Obviously their beliefs, right? And he didn't really believe this. And then فَلَمَّا أَفَلَ, and then when the moon disappeared, when the moon set, it also showed change. This thing is a tremendous sign of Allah, as we believe, but it's not Allah, it's not deserving of worship. And so he saw that this thing is changing, it's being altered, its state is not the same. God would not be altered. God cannot be changed. He can't be affected. If he's the supreme being, how can something affect a change in him? No, he's the one that changes everything. He doesn't change. He is as he's always been, perfect. You can't increase perfection, right? And the only change that can happen is imperfection, and that's impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And imperfection would entail someone taking something away from him, and no one can do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't need anyone, he only needs himself, and is perfect subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then he says, لَإِن لَمْ يَهْدِنِي رَبِّي, if my dear loving Lord doesn't show me the way, right? Meaning the proper practice in deen. So this also shows in their fitrah, as opposed to what modern man has come to conclude, that it's in the nature of human beings to recognize the existence of a true perfect creator and to worship and submit to him. And people who do believe in God, their life is, they can have very, very difficult tests, but they can manage them a lot easier. knowing this isn't for nothing, that there's an afterlife, there's an akhirah, there's paradise where we get rewarded for our tests, and knowing that not everything is in our control, there's a supreme creator, it's in his control, he creates and he protects. It makes life a lot easier. So he said, if my loving Lord doesn't guide me, I will certainly be one of the misguided people. Why? Because people who don't have guidance, because there's a human need to worship God. You feel it in your soul, right? What do? They look for things to worship, and most of the time the things that they look for are not the things that are worthy of worship, and not everyone is able to use their intellect, in a way that's unbiased of their cultural and social influences, as Ibrahim did earlier. So he's saying, I need this guidance from God, and he's showing them that, look, another failed attempt. So if his attempts like this ostensibly failed, right, based on their practices and their beliefs failed, yeah. So if this is what's happening, what are they worshipping, right? And subhanallah. So he said, we are the people, the qawm, who are truly misguided, lost, right, which is what his people were. And by this time they must really have been thinking, yeah. Anyway, so then what happens at this point is, says, فَلَمَّا رَأَى الشَّمْسَ بَازِغَةً, and when he saw the sun rising, same meaning as with the moon when it's rising from the east, قَالَ هَذَا رَبِّي هَذَا أَكْبَرُ, he said, this is my Lord, this is the greatest, i.e. of the heavenly bodies. So another reason why people might think it deserves worship, it's the greatest. But then, no matter how great a created things may seem, if you can show that it's created, it's likely to change, it can come to an end, it had a beginning, it shows it's not worthy of worship, it's not God himself. So فَلَمَّا أَفَلَتْ, right? So literally, actually, in the normal rules of Arabic, it should have been هذه, because the sun is a feminine word, so the pronoun should be feminine. But because he's, according to their beliefs, ascribing divinity to it, he used the masculine demonstrative pronoun, which is stronger in Arabic language. That's not saying anything about human beings. So he said, فَلَمَّا أَفَلَتْ, when it set, قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ, he said, my people, my dear people, right? Nominal sentence now, inni, with emphasis, bari'un, inni bari'un, I am completely free, I have no ascription, no connection, mimma tushrikun, I am free of what you associate in worship with Allah. I have nothing to do with them, no connection to them whatsoever, these idols or these stars or whatever you worship. None of them are worthy of worship, because if the star can appear and disappear, and the moon and the sun can do the same, then these other things that you worship as well also are flawed, right? None of them deserve worship. I worship. What's he saying now? He's going to say that he worships the one true God, right? So it's really interesting, beautiful. So how he puts it, so he said, inni bari'un, nominal sentence, fixed, firm, I'm not changing, this is the reality, I have got nothing to do with them. Inni bari' mimma tushrikun. So then he says in a very powerful way, inni wajjahtu wajhi lilladhi fatara as-samawati wal ard hanifan wama ana min al-mushrikeen. Wow, pure devotion, submission, surrender, pure tawheed. Right, I have turned my face towards the one who has originated the heavens and the earth, being upright, and I am not one of the polytheists. The nominal sentence again, and he says, "Inni wajjahtu." I now direct my face, literally, but it means my being, my ultimate, my innermost self. And my outward body, everything he has. The wajh refers to the entirety of someone. Inni wajjahtu wajhi, towards whom? لِلَّذِي, who's famous now. It's obvious, الَّذِي indicates fame here, but it's like, it's so clear he created everything. الَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. So فَطَرَ, it's to create. So خَلَقَ is to create according to a specific design, but fatara focus on non-existence and then existence. So he's establishing his ultimate power, that he existed and he then brings other things into existence. As-samawati wal-ard, the skies and the earth. Hanifan, and this is his state, which Imam al-Biqa, he says, it means Hanif or Hanaf, it's to incline towards the fitra, away from everything that's false and batil, and away from false beliefs or whatever, is to incline towards the original way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everyone, with ease and gentleness, meaning not forcing yourself to be like this. It's the natural way, so it fits easily into a person's mind, body, soul, their way of life. It's like, like a hand fits into a glove, perfectly fits in there with ease and gentleness. You don't have to force yourself to be this way. It's just the natural way. And there's also indication like that this is done based on proof. So Hanif is not just someone who's just doing this because he saw his ancestors do it. No, it's based on proof. And then he says, "Wama ana," and I am not of the idolaters or the mushrikeen, those who associate anyone in worship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am not, meaning, and I certainly am not. Wama ana min al mushrikeen. There's emphasis there. I'm not one of the polytheists, meaning you people are. You people are worshipping those who don't deserve worship, those who don't deserve to be called gods. وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. So we'll continue from here. He's really, honestly, just learn these words and recite them. In fact, it's a sunnah, I believe, in the Shafi'i school, the istiftah, وَجَهْتُ وَجْهِي لِلَّذِي فَطَرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ حَنِيفًا وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Hanifan Muslim and وَمَا أَنَا مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, I believe. But so complete devotion. It's like, it's as though he had this realization before, but it's as though he's realized, no, all this is fake. There's the true Lord. This thing doesn't deserve worship, nor does that. There's only Allah. So I give everything else, or everything over to Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we'll stop here. May Allah accept this from us and keep us firm and straight as Ibrahim, alladhi wafa, the one who fully fulfilled his pledge was. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.